And yeah, I don't know when's the last time we had a donut on the show.
I'd like to have a donut.
Me too.
Pastors
I
and
would
coffee and protein shakes. My name is Tony. I'm in a 2002 Toyota Highlander.
And my name is Morgan Butcher. I am not driving my Jetta today. It hasn't blown up. Close. I'm driving our 2006 Mazda CX-9.
Well, I'm Brandon, and as always, I'm driving my 2015 Audi. And I have got my Cherry Coke Zero with me.
And I'm Zach, and I'm driving a 2002 Ford F-150, and I'm on my way to get myself something to eat.
And Zach, where are you at right now?
Traveling between Buckley and Enumclaw.
Okay, that's perfect. Buckley and Enumclaw should be driving a truck.
Yes. I am just full. I mean, I'm a truck guy. This truck has 314,250 miles on it. Original transmission, original engine. I only rebuilt the rear end, so it's been good to me. And
Tony is driving the totally typical Mill Creek car right now.
Excuse
that
me?
Mill Creek?
Have you seen your Audi? Are you serious?
Let's not talk about that.
Tony has a bag of soccer balls in his trunk too.
This thing is a can of
So
rock.
is Mill. So just for clarification, is Mill Creek like they wish they were Bellevue, but they're more ghetto like Linwood? Is that like Mill Creek?
No.
Oh,
No,
Mill
they
Creek-
would be Bellevue,
no.
but yeah.
No, Mill Creek would be the Snohomish County version of Bellevue. How's that?
okay.
Mill Creek is very proud to be Mill Creek. Doesn't want to be anybody else besides Mill Creek. That's one of its issues, to be honest with you.
Is it its own town or is it just a
Yeah.
place? Oh,
Yeah, it's its own incorporated town. It's very proud of that too.
I really
Okay.
feel like the Mill Creek ego really was developed when the town center was built. All of a sudden, we just thought we were Redmond, and we said, forget everyone else.
We really did. Like you can
Yeah.
walk across the street. You can be on one street corner and you can walk into Everett. You can walk to the other side and go to Snohomish. You walk the other side and go to Bothell or even Linwood. But no, the Mill Creek people, they want to like stay in the 4 square miles of Mill Creek.
We will
Like
never
Tony-
get a Trader Joe's.
You'll get a Trader Joe's.
So, Zach, before we move on, now the beautiful thing about this show is every guest we've had thus far has been a youth pastor at some point in their ministry career. Tell us a little bit about you, man. Were you a youth pastor? If so, how long did you do it and where at?
Yeah, so I went to college at Central Washington University. I'm a bachelor's of science
He's in
and minor
Enumclaw.
English. And I was the worst hurdler in Central Washington University. But I'm in Enumclaw, that God was calling us to ministry, but we didn't know what that looked like. It wasn't the plan. I was going to go to law school, so this was a shift. And we just started right in. Our church was like 120 people at the time. So the youth pastor sees a couple in their 20s and says, youth staff. And we joined the team, and then he resigned 3 months later. And I did my first interim as a youth director in our church, and loved it. Did summer camp, and just stayed plugged in. And then they hired a youth pastor that came in, and we just stayed on the team doing events, just serving as youth staff. And then after about a year, he transitioned out. And when the lead pastor calls you at 10 o'clock at night after a board meeting, then you know he wants something.
Yeah.
And so I served for another 10 months. Our church was in the middle of a building program. And so I served 10 months as a youth director again, and just loved it. Jess and I just loved serving youth ministry and being on the team. They brought another youth pastor in, and he was awesome in that he like really taught us how to do ministry, and we just kept serving and through transition. And then we owned our own business, and we just stayed on the team. I did activities and events we'd go to camp, and I'd do all the winter camp games and activities, and that was just kind of our role. and served on the board for a number of years. And then we had pastoral transition, and a couple of years later, they approached me about taking on the role, dual youth and children's. And so that would have been back in 2011. So we started the church in 98. We've been there since.
Wow.
It's still our home church. We did not have to move when I took this role, but we were in 2011 became the youth pastors and children's pastors, and just loving it.
So
And
did
That's what I
you
love
grow,
about you, Zach.
did you
You're in
grow
it for
up
the
in
long
church?
haul.
All right, there's 3 questions there. Who
Or
wants
did
to
you
go
grow
first?
up in church then?
So I did. Well, I guess I should say, when I was 7, my parents took us back to church. My mom's family was on church. It was the whole old school, send the kids across the street for Sunday school type thing. And but my dad's grandma was a believer, and she introduced him to Jesus. And so years later, than when I was 7, they decided to go back to church. And so yeah, I grew up in the church from then on.
Oh man, good times. Zach,
Yeah.
that's what I love about you, man. Just a man of consistency. Just keep going.
That's right. Steady.
Yeah.
No, we love that.
This is a unique call because all 4 of us have been somewhere for over 5 years at least. And that's an uncommon trait nowadays, man. Not just in the church world, but just life in general.
Yeah,
And
especially the church world. Pastors switch jobs like I switch cars.
That's a lot, in case you were wondering.
That's a lot. So,
yeah.
how long ago, Pastor Brandon, did you guys plant Venture?
About 15 and a half years ago.
Okay.
So in my ministry, like I was only a youth pastor at 2 churches. I was a youth pastor for 12 years. I was at Bethany for about 7.5 years, and then Calvary and Modesto for 4.5, and then went straight from there and pastored. So in my 30 years of ministry, I've been at 3 places.
Oh, that's awesome.
Where I have friends in 30 years of ministry have been at 20 places.
Yeah. No, I have a friend that says, "Oh, I've got 20 years of youth ministry experience." I'm like, "No, you have 2 years of youth ministry experience that you've done 10 times."
Yes, exactly.
That's so true.
I
He
would
doesn't
say
like
you
that.
get a-
He doesn't like that.
The guys get addicted to the honeymoon part of youth ministry, but it's usually right around year 3, everything's your fault. But you also reap all the benefits of everything being your fault too.
That's true. That's true. And I think that, it's in year 3, year 1, everybody can see all the good side for that first year. The second year, you kind of get to really know people, and they get to really know you. And then after that, you have to decide whether you're going to stay or not. And yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of longevity. I just think, until you've had to work through, difficulties with your lead pastor and built that relationships and trust because you actually worked through it. I think, you miss out on a lot of amazing experience because of that. Now there's definitely something to be said about the ability to go in and like take everything that you love about youth ministry and cram it into 2.5 years. I mean,
That's easy.
Yeah.
Now, I always think youth ministry is at its best from year 4 on, because they know you, you know them, they know your strengths, they know your weaknesses. But then in addition, now you're to the point where you have the little brothers and sisters of kids in the youth ministry that have been impacted by you. And they come in because their older brother and sister said, Morgan is a great youth pastor. You have to like him. And so it actually, the next wave is even easier, but guys rarely experience that because they switch jobs so much.
Yeah. Well, and the other side of every one of us in a youth ministry has had students that have kind of come and they got all in, and then they just drift away and they fade away. And when you stay, you actually see them come back, and you get to see that.
I've always called it the 6-month scenario, is that students will come, get radically saved, and then they disappear. And then 6 months later, they come back.
Yeah.
And
if you're gone, they don't do that. I mean, it's too much work to rebuild.
Yeah, we called that September.
No, we always talk about Morgan. I mean, Morgan was kind of like you in that he served on our staff forever, like just kind of as a volunteer youth leader, kind of assistant youth pastor. We kept hiring other youth pastors, and he just kept kind of being faithfully there. So Morgan was always here through every transition, and then eventually became the youth pastor and was the youth pastor for, I don't know, it seems like forever. But by the time Morgan retired from youth ministry, in the words of Tony, Morgan is a legend in our area. Like, because, and he became a legend because of longevity, and it just pays.
Yeah. Yeah. You get that, Morgan? We both are the poster children of youth pastors that just simply wouldn't go away. you know,
Proud.
they won't leave. What do? We got to give them
Like
a paycheck.
fruit flies.
Well, I think there's a lot of truth in the statement. You can take the man out of youth ministry, but you can't take the youth ministry out of the man.
Yes.
I still feel like I'm a youth pastor.
Totally. I pastor our entire church like I was a youth pastor. If youth ministry could afford to provide for a family, I probably would have done it for the rest of my life. Because you don't really work when you're a youth pastor.
I'm just saying, if you ask us to do human videos at sausage festivals, I'm out. You got to find someone else.
When Tony announced that he's doing a youth event where he watches Back to the Future and then talks about it with his students, I mean, I can't do that with an adult event. They wouldn't consider that work, but the youth pastor gets cheered on for that. Best job ever.
That's always like, when you take a whole week and go to summer camp and, you're working all week.
Yeah.
Especially those that go to high school camp. I tell all the leaders to go to high school camp. That is not work.
Dude.
It's like grabbing the coolest kids and going, hey, we're going to go hang out for a week, have some fun.
Yeah. It's so
well,
true.
when Troy Jones was the DYD, it was work being at a week of camp because, it was work then in those days.
I tell every youth pastor now, I'm like, no. What you need to do is you need to direct a camp. Because when you are directing a camp, I feel like it's even less work, honestly. You do all the work beforehand, and then when you're there, everyone else does the work. And you just you got to like solve some of the problems, but it's just like you get your own cabin. You get to hang out by yourself, and then, you don't have kids punching you in the middle of the night.
See, those are the reasons I didn't like directing.
Oh, really?
I want to sleep with the students.
Oh, not me. You know what is the worst job at camp? The sports director. Because let's be honest, that's the only guy that does anything at a week of camp. I hated that job.
Yeah. Who is ever in charge of the games?
They can't win, right? It's either too physical, not physical enough.
And all you do is make water balloons all day long.
And then clean up garbage afterwards. You got to pick up all the little pieces out of the grass.
Now, I heard this piece of advice the other day I got from a former ex-veteran youth pastor. He told me this. He said, really in youth ministry, you kind of have, that maybe your time might be up when you have gone through 2 graduating classes. Like, you've graduated 2 full classes out. Do you guys think the same thing? And once you've kind of hit that 8-year mark, 9-year mark, it's been enough?
No, I don't.
I agree with Zach. I think, like, here's when I knew youth ministry, it was my tail end of it. And it was when the 5 messages that every youth pastor preaches over and over and over again, when I realized I was preaching the same 5 messages over and over and over again. Don't do drugs, honor your parents, you need Jesus, don't have sex with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
And you say kind of the same, and after a while I realized I was doing it. I think that's when when you're bored of saying the same thing over and over again.
Don't go to sausage fests. All those messages.
Yep.
Yeah. Tony, I would say it's more than that though. I would say it's still like, if you don't look forward to camp, if you don't look forward to late night texts from, like I had a student text me one time and call. And again, they're being stupid. They're messing around with the Ouija board, and they thought their cats were possessed. And I was thinking, well, I think cats are possessed anyway. But if those kinds of calls, if you can't if those kinds of calls make you mad, you should probably be done.
You know,
Those are the calls that I get from Tony.
my cat. I think it's
My
possessed.
cat.
Well, you shouldn't have a cat.
Yeah, I agree, though. I think your time is up when you've lost a passion, when students you view them more as a burden than a blessing at that point, and it's just start. Maybe it is time to hang up the boots. But
Pastor Brandon probably tell us. I mean, there's not a lot of difference in adult ministry. I mean, the mess is. I mean, it's just a different scale of mess. It's actually more. The ramifications are actually more intense with adults, I think.
Yeah, the way I describe it is this. By the way, I still love Bible camps. I still preach at youth camps all the time. I love it. So I don't think you ever get tired of it, because you can take a student on a weekend and their entire life can be radically changed for the rest of their life.
Let's go.
That it doesn't work that way with adults. The biggest thing is adults make the exact same mistakes that students make, but when they make them, they end up destroying marriages, losing jobs. It literally causes their lives to spiral out of control. But I honestly look back at it, and all the things that you've said, those are the things that I still love about youth ministry.
Yeah, I agree. I
don't enjoy. I think it's New Year's Eve all-nighters. That's what I hate.
I love them.
New Year's Eve events. Hated them.
I feel like it's the greatest gift in the world to be a part of. Now, like I thought that before too, but now that I'm not doing youth ministry anymore, it is like the thing that I get so excited about, because it's just like, it's like you just get to, for a little bit, go back to, that season of your life. And it's so fun to be a part of.
Do you guys realize that, like, for the three of us, for me, Morgan, and Tony, our church, Venture Church, is full of all of our youth kids? Do you guys ever think about that? It's full of my old youth kids, Morgan's old youth kids, and Tony's youth kids. That's literally probably 2/3 of our church.
Just a youth church with bigger messes.
And now our children.
Now they all have teenagers. My youth kids now have teenagers in Tony's youth ministry.
That's awesome.
And those kids are the biggest
blessings.
Watching. Yeah, biggest blessings. Biggest blessings.
God's great gifts to the world.
I was just at a socially distanced bonfire, just some of my boys the other day, and one of them thought, this would be a great moment to go over to all the adults, pull down my pants and moon them, and just see what happens.
That's because of whoever youth pastored their parents.
Yeah.
Was that one of my old students' kids?
It might be. They may or may not be on our board also. Who knows?
Hypothetically.
Yeah. Zach, were you going to say something, Brandon?
I was going to say, well, when you're a TV star, the kid of a TV star, you can do whatever you want.
That's true. I was going to ask you, Zach, kind of to end it on a good note, man, because, you've kind of helped remind everyone that's watching, even to me, just, there's power and joy and longevity, and there's beauty in it. And there's one last thing, man. What would you say now to a up-and-coming person that wants to be in ministry, or a person that's watching that just attends the church but is a high-capacity volunteer? What would you tell them is the thing that they need the most in this season right now?
Man, that just sounds cliche to say it, I guess. But, just your personal relationship with Jesus matters more than anything. It matters. I mean, that's what you need. You need to be able to, because so many youth pastors and youth leaders, their identity was on the ability to speak in front of a crowd. And of course, that's been taken away. And so if your relationship with Jesus isn't strong and you don't know who you are in Christ, man, that would be challenged at a pretty big level. And so I would just say, man, that's number one. That relationship piece with Jesus has to be rock solid.
And hey, Zach, for what it's worth, I obviously you and I have never met, at least as far as I know, and I don't know you, but what I do know of you, I like a lot. And that is because my youth pastor, Tony, who's hard to win over, by the way, Tony thinks the world of you. He brags about you all the time. So from a lead pastor, thanks for doing just a great job connecting and making my youth guy feel connected.
Oh, man. Tony was just one of those first guys that I connected with. Of course, I've known Morgan and partnered with Morgan in different things for years. But, as I got to know Tony, I just loved his heart and his passion. So it's just been fun to connect with him. And, you guys were so ruthless to Tony on the last, installment of this Pastors and Cars. I got to tell you, that guy's, you have one of the superstars in our network. And I know that at our next youth leadership team meeting, he's going to say, hey, I got this great idea. We're going to go into communities. We're going to do human videos and host sausage fests.
Yes.
Come on, let's go.
But now I know where he gets all his good ideas, Brandon. I get it.
We didn't host it. It was at the Catholic church across the street.
That makes it worse. That makes it so worse.
Of course you didn't. I mean, you would never host something like that. Yeah.
I vote.
I
Morgan,
bet the
do you agree?
confessionals were open that day too.
Morgan, do you agree that
what?
we want to see Tony in a human video?
Oh my gosh.
Tony wasn't a human video.
As long as he doesn't have
I
to
think
play
I still
volleyball.
have the video of it.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure Tony was in a human video for our youth group. I'll have to see if I can track the video.
Tony, I bet you would make an awesome rock in a human video.
No, he would be a demon.
I was the one time. Wow. First off, rude. Secondly,
No. You guys, he's the leper that gets healed. He's the crippled man at the gate who gets healed.
I did a human video. I played the blind man that said to Jesus, I want to see. I played that in a human video.
I'm about 2 seconds from quitting doing the show. Because if this is what it comes down to, I'm out. Like you said, the sausage, I'm out.
Tony, Tony, you're more. But if you're
We
going
love
to be
you,
at the
Tony.
if you're at the Last Supper, you're definitely going to be John. I'm going to tell you that. You're not going to be. You could be.
The one that
you're
Jesus
John.
loved?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just a little guy.
No, we did a human video, and we were on tour, and I was a angry father for one of them, which ain't nothing changed. Second, one time I was Jesus, but I think that's because I'm the most Palestinian person anyone knows. Or maybe the only Palestinian person anyone knows. So that kind of all worked itself out. So yeah.
So
yeah.
I know so much already because you've already told me that you've been on tour with your human videos.
Yes. He's the star. Hey, one thing that you guys don't know about Zack Cash is that this guy is like the youngest old guy I know. Like literally, when I look at Zack, every time I think 28, probably.
Yeah, right.
But Zack's been around the block, man. Even when I hang out with you, I'm like, dude, Zack, you are probably younger than me. And yet
it's just because I have hair,
like this,
Morgan.
It must be. So I don't know, man. And also, Zack is a bulldog on the basketball court. No one messes with Zack Cash on the basketball court.
That's because when you put a basketball in a wrestler's hands, it's a disaster.
Zach, one of my favorite stories about Morgan is Morgan and I were back. I don't know. I think Morgan had just become our youth pastor, and we went to an espresso stand to get espresso together.
Oh, geez.
And the gal at the espresso stand thought he was my dad. It doesn't say a lot about how bright she was, but still, it's one of my favorite stories.
So she was blonde, is what you're saying? Is that?
It was a rough day in my life.
No. The best Morgan story is when Morgan at a youth conference dressed up like Jesus to go to slam dunk, and missed the dunk
twice.
Jesus would never have missed the dunk.
But on the third day, got it on that third try.
Who even asked you to do that? Like, who was preaching that thought this would be a great idea?
That was my hoop.
You know what? I'm actually trying to get an interview with him. His name's Clint Gresham. Trying to get an interview with him. But anyways, yeah. Actually, what makes me a little more frustrated is that there was definitely people way more qualified to dunk a basketball at that conference than me.
Well,
Like,
they
I
already
kept on
set
walking.
it to 9-6.
I kept on walking past people in the lobby thinking, that guy should have been dunking the basketball. That guy should have been dunking the basketball. That guy would have dunked the basketball. And yet it was me.
You know what, though? I will always have the Jesus dunk firmly established in my memory. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Here to serve. Here to serve.
Jesus. Well, Zach, thanks for being on the show this week, man. Appreciate you and all that you're
Tons of
doing.
fun, guys.
For leading all the youth pastors, man. We love you and we're thankful for you, man.
Oh man. Hey, this is tons of fun. Thanks guys for hosting.
Yeah, man. We'll see ya.
See you, bud.
Love
Bye.